Tether has started buying record amounts of Bitcoin and could soon overtake MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor to become the biggest Bitcoin holder in the world. In today's show, I want to discuss what ramifications Tether buying Bitcoin has on the market, and I want to go through how this changes the market dynamics of Bitcoin and could be an incredibly bullish sign for the crypto market in general, as it mitigates some of the negative consequences of the current supply overhang that we're currently experiencing. I also want to talk about the Bitcoin conference. I'm actually here in Miami right now, and I want to discuss what the conference could mean in terms of the Bitcoin price, because there is a trend that tends to occur every single Bitcoin conference in terms of what the Bitcoin price does. And then I also want to go through some of the altcoins that I am watching this week, because it is a big week for a few altcoins that have big announcements coming. And I want to discuss what my plan is with them as well. So if you're excited for this video, smash the like button and let's get straight into it. So Tether released their report, which detailed that they were starting to buy Bitcoin just a few days ago. And I want to run through some of the key numbers from this report because it's very important. So we can see that Tether had an excellent quarter under several aspects. It made $1.48 billion of net profit for the quarter, which is absolutely crazy. It's one of their record quarters, which indicates a strengthening Tether reserve and an increase in the token circulation of 20%, which is a clear indicator of the trust of Tether's customers, which allows Tether to be very optimistic for the future. And I'm reading out from their official report here. Tether closed the first quarter of 2023 with $81.8 billion in consolidated total assets. The majority of its reserves are invested in US Treasury bills. So basically what Tether does is every single dollar of Tether that is created, it needs to be underpinned by real US dollars. So what Tether as a company will do is they will take the money that they receive in order to mint USDT, and they'll put that money into US Treasury bills, which they earn a certain percentage yield off based on the interest cash rate at any given time. And the interest is essentially the difference as to where they make their profit. So if they're receiving 5% from their treasury bills, that's where they make their profit. They make that 5% difference. So obviously the bigger the market cap of Tether, the more money they're making as the more yield they make. And as interest rates go up, they do earn more money from that as well. They're also diversified into other assets like other cash equivalents, US bonds, short-term deposits. So they're not all in treasury bills. They do diversify, and they've got roughly 85% in these cash and cash equivalents of their total holdings. And of course, they are now starting to buy Bitcoin as well, which isn't going to be used to underpin USDT like we saw with 𝗕𝗏𝗕𝗚, because essentially that would mean that your $1 is not actually backed by $1. Instead, what they're doing is they're putting some of their profits into Bitcoin. So now we know they're extremely profitable as a company. They made $1.5 billion for Q1. A percentage of those profits are going into buying Bitcoin, and we're going to discuss the amount that they're buying and what that could mean for the market in just a second. So this is the management of the company's total asset amount. Of course, it's $81 billion. And then the group's consolidated total liabilities equal 79.3, of which 79.37 relates to digital tokens issued. So that basically means the amount of Tether in circulation, the total value, so Tether's market cap, versus the amount of assets that they have. We know that's obviously in a surplus because they do have over and above from their principal holdings of cash. They have extra cash reserves and Bitcoin, which they are starting to buy, which is interesting as well. So what is Tether doing with all this profit? Well, they just announced that they are investing 15% of their total profits into Bitcoin. So 15% of all profits made from Tether, as we know they make money from the interest payments that they receive, is now going to be invested into Bitcoin. And there is a bit of maths behind this, which I want to dig into now. In Q1 though, they basically made a concerted effort to start their Bitcoin fund. So they wanted to kick off their journey. So what they did is, instead of just investing 15% of that monthly profits into Bitcoin, they decided to kick it off with a huge Bitcoin purchase, an oversized Bitcoin purchase of 52,670, which means they now hold 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which is a staggering amount. So Tether just reported a Q1 profit of 1.5 billion, most of which they actually did end up putting into Bitcoin to kick off their fund. And from now on, they're going to put, obviously not all of their profits, but 15% of their ongoing profits into Bitcoin over time. He explains that Tether makes money by earning interest on US treasuries, as I explained before, whilst paying their depositors 0%. So of course, if you deposit $1 into Tether, you're depositing $1 into Tether because you want a stablecoin. You want to be able to use it on chain. You want to be able to use it to swap into assets, trade perps, etc. You don't really care about making money on that, right? You know, your crypto investments are what's going to make the money on that dollar that you deposit. But Tether, they're holding that dollar for you, so obviously you can redeem your Tether for US dollars, but the dollar that they're holding, they're earning interest on. So it's a very good business model. It's a very lean business model because they essentially take on, custodial risk. That's their job, but for taking on that risk and for taking on the operating costs that are associated with that, they're actually earning a percentage yield off the treasury bills. So they're kind of operating like a bank, like exactly like a bank would. They take your money, they loan it out, but instead of loaning it out to other counterparties, they're just, basically loaning it to the US government, right? If they're buying treasury bills. So 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗧𝗏 says, surely investors are fleeing Tether now that they can get 5% risk-free in a bank. Nah, there's enough demand for a digital dollar outside of the banking system, even if it earns 0%. Tether issuance keeps growing unaffected by rising rates. And this is exactly what I said before. It's because consumers, they need to use stablecoins. Stablecoins are such an important part of the crypto economy, and if you're going to be interacting on chain, if you're going to be trading perps, you're going to need stablecoins. So it kind of has its own use case above and beyond the percentage that you'd earn on your typical treasury bill or your typical bond. It has a use case of being like a pillar of the crypto economy. So people are going to keep using it, and the more people that use it, the higher the market cap increases. The more the market cap increases, the more Tether can actually make from loaning that money out. So, and I say loaning it out in a very loose way, but technically it's not loaning, it's just earning interest, right? Like a bank would. So Dan Crypto Trade said, assuming net profit stays the same, so let's go into the math side of things. So let's assume they make, $1.5 billion every quarter now, albeit not every quarter they're going to make that much. Maybe over time, if the Tether market cap keeps increasing, they might make more and more over time, but let's just keep it like linear for the sake of this example. If they make 1.48 bill a quarter, then they would roughly be buying, as per the 15% rule that they're implementing, around 74 million USD worth, or 2.7K worth of Bitcoin each month. So $74 million worth of Bitcoin buying, 2.7K worth of Bitcoin at today's current Bitcoin price every single month. This is a pretty significant amount of buy pressure. Like, that is good to have consistent, continuous buying pressure on Bitcoin over time, especially considering that there is significant supply overhang. So Andrew Kang said that the rise of Tether probability changes the flow dynamics of Bitcoin in a big way. If they direct most of their annualized 6 bill profits into Bitcoin, now we know it's 15%, so it's not most, but it's still a significant portion, it almost completely offsets the selling pressure from GOX and the US government. MicroStrategy entire bull market Bitcoin purchased every 2 quarters. So if we actually look at the supply overhang, we know that the US government is selling 40,000 Bitcoin over 4 installments throughout the remainder of this year. We know that Mt. Gox is distributing 142,000 Bitcoin to its creditors, not all of which are going to sell, but a percentage of which are going to sell, and that is undoubtedly some sort of overhang on the market. We know that Jane Street and Jump are scaling back crypto trading and market making, meaning they could potentially be listing some or selling some of their tokens on the market as they no longer have the same amount of need for those tokens. And we also know Voyager are liquidating positions alongside BlockFi due to their legal proceedings. So there is a lot of supply overhang on the market, but it's good to see we don't only have sellers now. We have companies that are willing to put their neck on the line, stick their neck out to actually buy Bitcoin and continue to stack Bitcoin, because Tether clearly has conviction. And I must emphasize that it's not like 𝗕𝗏𝗏 buying Bitcoin. Remember, he was buying Bitcoin to be like a reserve for the Tether asset. That actually is a flywheel when things are going well, but it can also work in the negative way. It can be a negative flywheel, because if they need to sell Bitcoin to defend Tether, then that adds sell pressure back onto the market. Tether isn't like that, because they're not buying Bitcoin to underpin their dollar value. They're buying Bitcoin in addition to the treasury bills and the cash equivalents that they own that constitute one Tether. So it's actually their profit. So they're almost like a fund, like MicroStrategy, except as far as I'm concerned, they're not levering up. They're buying spot Bitcoin, so that they don't have any like liquidation risk. Now, they may be levered up, I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I'm concerned, there isn't a huge liquidation risk there, which is obviously a good thing. So if they keep going at this pace, that is adding a counter dynamic to the market, a buy dynamic, to counteract some of the negative sell pressure. So in general, it's quite a bullish thing that you have a company wanting to buy up Bitcoin. Over time, Bitcoin price appreciation happens because big institutions and big whales buy Bitcoin. So if Tether makes money long term, this is only another bullish catalyst for the space. Now, what about Michael Saylor, who obviously is the CEO of and founder of MicroStrategy? Actually, I think he was stepping down as CEO, but he's still, the head guy at MicroStrategy, right? And they are some of the biggest Bitcoin holders. Well, that's not going to change. They still have $3.76 billion worth of Bitcoin. So they still have much more Bitcoin than Tether does, but the pace in which they are buying Bitcoin has decreased. We know in 2020, 2021, they were buying a lot of Bitcoin. We can see here on the portfolio tracker that in the peak of the bull market, they were buying a lot. They bought 253, they bought 271, 262, 19,452, a huge purchase back in February 2021. Since then, they've been making smaller purchases. 4,000 still pretty big. 480, 301, another 2,000. They did some sort of loan there. Then they did another 1,000 Bitcoin. So they are purchasing a lot of Bitcoin, and they own 140,000 Bitcoin, which is a significant amount. But now Tether owns around a third of that. And if we can do the math, assuming that they are going to purchase, let's say, 2,700 Bitcoin per month, then in roughly a year's time, they could start getting a lot closer to MicroStrategy. Of course, it's going to take 3 years at that monthly pace. So Michael Saylor will still have the lead for a few years in terms of the biggest Bitcoin holder, assuming that he's stagnant and doesn't buy any more Bitcoin, but he very well may step in and buy more Bitcoin, and Tether might not overtake them for 4 or 5 years. But it's good that we have competition. This is healthy competition. We want big whales buying Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, it's a great thing. And really, Tether's ability to purchase this amount of Bitcoin and maintain quite an aggressive buy stance is due to the fact that interest rates have increased so much. Just look at the federal funds effective rate. So this is the representation of the cash rate in the market, aka the interest rate. We can see that interest rates have significantly increased. They're around the 5% mark now. And during low interest rate environments, Tether isn't making as much because treasury bills aren't paying as much on the dollar. So with interest rates higher, they're actually making more money. And we can see that their total market cap is very reflective of the total Fed funds rate. We can see on February 12th, 2023, the total market cap of Tether started rocketing, went from 63 to 83 million. We can see in February 2023 as well, if we zoom in, that the Fed funds rate continued to increase. So we could see it was at 4.5, then it's at 4.6, then 4.8, and now we're looking towards a 5% interest rate. And we can see even all the way back in December, that's when things started to pick up for Tether's market cap. And back in December, that is when we had a continuous shift from the 4 to the 5% mark in terms of the Fed funds rate. And even before that, that's obviously when the interest rates was just starting to rise. And then we also saw Tether starting to kick up steam there as well, although slightly on a lagging basis because market cap and interest rate isn't reflective. The interest rate is reflective of the amount of profit that Tether makes. And of course, the bigger the market cap, so the more dollars Tether is able to mint, the more interest they're able to make. Now, Tether's kind of in a good situation for that reason, because in a high interest environment, Tether does quite well. They make more money, that's great. But in a low interest environment, you may think, all right, well, they don't do as well because they don't make as much profit. Yes, that is true, but you have to remember that in a low interest rate environment, crypto tends to perform better. So Bitcoin performs better in low interest rate environments, crypto in general, risk assets in general. And in a risk on environment, people trade more crypto, and when people trade more crypto, they need more stable coins, generally. Generally what we see is liquidity inflows into the market results in more stable coins being minted, and that is obviously still good for Tether's market cap. So they're in a pretty good situation, to be honest, in the market, because rising interest rates can increase their profit margins, but so can lowering interest rates. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but lowering interest rates can also result in a market cap increase, albeit, it's not a win-win. There is going to be periods where their market cap reduces when there's less demand for trading crypto, right? Because you have to remember the market cap is reflective of demand. As long as people want to use Tether, then their market cap will increase, and if they don't, it could decrease. Just have to keep in mind that, there's regulatory risk. Any sort of major SEC sanction on Tether would have a tangible effect on the market cap if it caused some FUD, but nonetheless, Tether's still in a fairly good position. So that is the Tether story. I want to get into the Bitcoin conference and look at the charts and all that stuff now, but that is the big Tether story. The TLDR there is that they're catching up to Michael Saylor, and over time, I think this is a great source of sustained buy pressure for crypto, and pretty bullish news long term, honestly, because not many players since 𝗕𝗏𝗏 have stepped in, and obviously MicroStrategy as well, to really buy a significant amount of Bitcoin. The next thing I want to look at is the Bitcoin conference, because I'm actually going tomorrow. I'm in Miami right now, actually in my hotel room. It's going to be massive, but there are also some things that tend to happen to the price around the Bitcoin conference that I want to discuss. Before we get into that, remember, the OKX comp only has 4 days to go. 4 days and 17 hours. By the time you're watching this video, it'll be 4 days and 13 hours, because I'm recording this a few hours before it goes live. And when that ends, then obviously, you're not going to be able to qualify for the Tesla anymore. So if you have not signed up to an OKX account and you would like to participate to potentially win a Tesla or $50,000, you have 4 more days remaining. Now, you only need to do $1 worth of trading volume to earn a raffle ticket. So just remember, you only need to trade $1. Obviously, the more you trade, though, the more raffle tickets you're going to earn. The more raffle tickets you earn, the higher chance you have of winning. But for the ones that, don't really have that much capital to trade with or whatever, you can literally just sign up, trade $1, and you'll get a raffle ticket entry. So in order to sign up to win this Tesla, you've got 4 days left. Time is ticking. It's the final giveaway in the huge campaign that we've done. There's a link in the description. Click that link. Click the Join Now button. Once you've joined, you can sign up to an account and deposit money to start trading either spot or derivatives. Up to you, completely your choice. But yeah, I would suggest getting involved in that if that's something you want to do soon, because there's only 4 days left, and I don't know if I'm streaming for the next couple of days, so I won't be here to remind you. So that is my last reminder. I know some of you might be getting annoyed because I've talked about it so much over the last few weeks, but I mean, it's for good reason, right? It's a freaking Tesla. Like, you can win a damn Tesla for trading. It's not a bad thing at all. All right, let's now get into the Bitcoin conversation. So the Bitcoin conference, starting tomorrow, very excited. We got the whole Banter fam here. I must say, it's been absolutely incredible to be at this conference with the whole of the Banter team. Like, literally everyone is here. Sheldon's here, Rand's here, Kyle's here, Hustle's here. Everyone's here. The school team's here. Like, it's unbelievable. We're doing a meetup tomorrow night, and we're meeting 20 people that bought tickets through our link and wanted to do our VIP dinner. So we're going to be meeting you guys if you're going. I'm looking forward to meeting with you and chatting with you. It's going to be incredible. And if you are at the conference and you're not making the dinner, still come and say hi. Like, there'll be tons of us there. We'll be doing meet and greets at the sniper booth, at the sniper school booth. So yeah, come say hi if you're coming. It's going to be absolutely awesome. From a conference perspective, and I'm sure we're going to get big news, but from a non-conference perspective, from a price perspective, for the ones that are sitting at home and wondering what this means for the Bitcoin price, well, there is a trend, and I wish I could say it was a bullish trend, but unfortunately it's not, and it's this. Bitcoin typically tends to pump into conferences and dump post-conference. I don't know if it's just market seasonality. In fact, I must disclaim that the lack of sample size here makes me think that it's probably more of a seasonality thing than it is a correlated thing. So I wouldn't put too much weight onto this in terms of my personal trading, but just keep in mind that these red lines are the Bitcoin conferences for the last 3 years. Obviously, the latest line is the 4th year, which is this year, which is commencing tomorrow. And you can see that there's been pumps into these conferences. So we see in 2020, we had a pump. It's hard to see, but in 2021 as well, we did have a pump the week before. In 2022, we did have a pump the week before. And post-conference, we've actually seen significant dumps. So in January 2020, we did have a small pump, and then we had a massive dump to the downside. In 2021, we had a small pump and then a massive dump to the downside. In 2022, the pump happened pre-conference, and then we had a massive dump. So if we look on the right here, 2020, after 59 days, the Bitcoin price was down 56%. The next year, it was down 24% over a 47-day period. And in 2022, the price was down 42% over a 40-day period. So if we use this as a guide, we could come to a conclusion that potentially Bitcoin does decline post-conference here. And that would line up with the current head and shoulders pattern that we are currently exemplifying. We have our left shoulder, we have our head, we have our right shoulder. We've broken past the neckline. We've had our retest of the neckline. Theoretically, that should indicate a move down to the 25K region. So will this happen? Well, I can't affirm that it will. Obviously, the market can do what it wants. The market's erratic. Just because the conferences have dumped in previous moments doesn't mean it necessarily will this time. I would take it with a huge grain of salt, because I think this is more a reflection of seasonality, barring 2020, than it is a reflection of correlation here. But I just thought it was interesting to note that we have had new lows being made 5 to 8 weeks post-conference, and often we pump into conferences. I don't know what it is about conferences. I don't know whether it's buy the rumor, sell the news, or just market fatigue around the month of May and June. But in general, we do have these declines post-conference. So just be careful, and that is lining up with the head and shoulders as well. Once again, I wouldn't say this is definitive. There could be, a new catalyst or piece of news in the market, or some sort of Fed pivot or narrative change that can, force a huge breakout to the upside. Like, this market doesn't necessarily obey, especially to these head and shoulders, that well, but it still is something to take note of, that if you are looking at this pattern, this is still playing out. And for me, I still have this range high area of significant interest, this 24 to 25k area of significant interest. Invalidation of the bearish scenario comes at the breakout of my horizontal at 27.8. If we hit it in roughly 7 days, that's where we'll be. If we break it today, it'll be 28k. That is my bullish scenario. If you hold above there, you can look to reclaim 29 to 30, that key horizontal structure, which was our previous resistance zone. So that's what I'm looking at right now. But probability to me, just based on technical analysis and also a bit of intuition, is that we do have a little bit of downside to come. So if you don't want to trade Bitcoin or any altcoins off the back of that, you can do so on Prime XBT. We're actually doing a big deposit bonus right now of 20%. So if you click on the second code, which is Miles20, you can get a 20% deposit bonus. So if you deposit 10,000, you'll get $2,000 worth of trading capital, which is pretty insane. I think it's the biggest percentage deposit bonus we've ever done, and that is up to a $6,000 bonus. So if you deposit 30k, you can maximize your bonus. So it is quite good. We're only giving it away to the first 100 people. I believe 20 people have already claimed it, so only 80 left on that deposit bonus. So if you haven't gotten involved, link in the description to get involved on Prime XBT. The cool thing about Prime XBT, as you can see on the platform here, is not just the fact that they have Bitcoin trading, but they also have a lot of Forex and commodities pairs as well. So there's silver, there's gold, they have most commodities pairs. It's different from your typical exchange, the way you trade margin. So it's, it's like trading Forex basically. It's percentage based. Rather than setting your leverage. I'll do a trade tutorial in the future to help you guys out with it. But if you're used to Forex, you'll kind of know how it works. You can set your margin, and there's a huge variety of pairs across, euros, GBP, USD. Of course, if you're interested in Bitcoin or altcoins, they have that as well. If you want to trade them, they've got most of the major caps, Bitcoin, ETH, etc. But yeah, just thought I'd also note that it is cool because you got commodities like gold, silver, aluminium, alongside Forex as well. Now, to continue with the show, so link in the description to Prime XBT if you want to use it and get that 20% deposit bonus with Miles20. Only 100 users are going to get that bonus. So just to kind of wrap up the show here, we've talked about Tether, we've talked about Bitcoin. Let's talk about alts. Let's finish on a strong note talking about alts. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow, so I want to kind of get the lay of the land now for you guys so you're prepped for the next couple of days. And if I can stream, I will. Of course, so, conferences are super, super hectic, especially the Bitcoin conference. It's going to be crazy. I'm very, very excited, but, it is a crazy time this week. I'm recording this video an hour before the Champions League final. By the time you watch it, the final is going to be done. I'm a huge Real fan, so I really hope Madrid wins. 𝗲𝗚 Madrid. But I'm not sure. By the time you watch this, you'll know the result. It's in an hour. I'm actually going to meet the 𝗕𝗀𝗕𝗏, Hustle and all that, and actually watch the match and have a beer or something at a sports bar. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Go Real, please. I hope I don't look like an idiot. 7 p.m. when this video goes live. I really, really hope Real wins. Let's see. But just looking through the altcoin market, let's do a quick update. What's pumping? Axi's pumping off the back of the Apple news. I want to get this news for you. Apple allows Axie Infinity crypto game on the App Store. So they have a big crypto game, a new game called Axie Infinity Origins, available in Latin America and Southeast Asia, launching on the App Store. So that is a big step because Apple has typically been pretty standoffish when it comes to launching these kind of apps on the App Store, but they've made an exception for Axie, and that is a nice precedent, I think, for the metaverse market. It's why a lot of metaverse tokens are pumping. We have Decentraland pumping as well, Sandbox pumping, metaverse coins certainly catching a little bit of a bid here. What else is pumping? XRP very positive news for their case. We're getting pretty close to the end now, and we had some good developments in court today, which indicates the XRP case finalization is getting closer. Obviously, that is great for crypto because a win for XRP is a win for crypto. So that would be an amazing thing. We have Optimism performing quite strongly as well. Render obviously performing ahead of Apple DevCon. So if we do look at the Apple DevCon here, we can see 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗃 said that we have been working with Apple engineers, he's the CEO at Render, for around a decade to bring Octane X to Apple's silicon hardware, now powering all Apple devices and Macs to iPhone and more. That work has been featured on multiple Apple keynote events in the last few years, including last week's M2 Pro launch. It's going to be pretty awesome. I think the synergy between Apple and Render is a lot stronger than people first realized. And we do have Apple DevCon on June 5th, so in a few weeks, which is likely going to feature some sort of Render announcement or some sort of Render product unveiling of some sort. So definitely one to keep your eye on. Render, I'm still looking for long opportunities on it based on key TA and breakouts. In fact, if we just go onto the altcoin chart right now, I'll kind of get a bit of TA for you just quickly, but this could be an interesting one to trade in the lead up, especially if we have a bullish market. This is one that's certainly on my watch list. So for Render, obviously, that break of the 2.5 level would be absolutely massive in terms of looking for that price discovery at $3 plus. The only thing is that is technically a resistance, so you might want to consider like just staying off buying into resistance unless we get a confirmed breakout, or wait for the dip to the 1.4 to 1.5 zone and buy there. We're kind of in no man's land now, so it probably isn't a trade I'd take, although you do have this diagonal trend starting to play out. So if you're more of a leverage trader and you want to take this trade, well, we're actually breaking out right now. And I'm sorry, I know this video is going out a couple hours after, but we look like we're about to break out, or if we actually draw it to the wick, we aren't quite there yet. So just maybe on your own charts when you're watching this, draw this in and see if we actually did break above. It's a 4-hourly trend, a decent trend line. I would have liked another touch to have like good confluence. So, it's not my favorite trend line ever, but if we do break and we get a retest, I actually may look to line that up with horizontal structure, which is generally something that the market adheres to more at the 2.1 zone. So this will be an area I look at actually maybe longing some Render at. Let's see, it is relying on Bitcoin and how that responds over the next couple of days as well. Even Render being strong if Bitcoin drops, still unlikely to move the needle much on that front. What else is the altcoins that I'm looking at? I've got one more altcoin list for you. Chinese coins. Watch out for Chinese coins, CFX, etc. I actually do have a watch list for you. I'll show you my Chinese coin watch list. The reason why I'm watching them is basically because we have the Hong Kong legalization of crypto retail trading on June 1st in a couple of weeks. So I'm watching this list quite closely of altcoins. I'll also post on my Twitter. By the time you're watching this, that tweet will be out. Then I'm also watching LTC, 80 days to the halving. Actually, this is already up since the call I made last show, so that's amazing. You guys should be in profit there if you did buy on that trend line. This is a great one. I'm just buying ahead of the halving. Typically, Litecoin peaks 7 to 8 weeks, or 6 weeks before the halving. So that's approaching in another 6 weeks from now. So that trade could be a nice one for the next month. And then we have Stacks on the Bitcoin narrative I'm watching, as well as 𝗬𝗎 has a lot of increased upbid interest, and Rocketpool and Lido as well. LSD narrative is quite strong after increased ETH staking over the last couple of weeks. So that is my quick altcoin watch list to watch out for this week. I think that it's going to be a few decent trading opportunities, but let's obviously keep our eye on Bitcoin and how it responds to the Bitcoin conference. It's just good news, this Tether stuff. I think it's great for market dynamics in general. If you did enjoy the video, smash the like button. Remember, OKX competition to win a Tesla, 4 days, link in the description for that. Prime XBT, 20% deposit bonus, link in the description to that. Also, the ByBit comp is still running. I think our winner may have cemented his place. We did meet him at I met him last night, randomly bumped into him at while he was buying socks, and it turned out that he was the leader of the comp. So he may have won, but top 10 is still wide open. Like, I think 10th place is like 180%, so to 200%. So it's still possible to make it if you're still in the running there. Of course, for a $1,000 prize, or I think it might be $500 prize. So good luck to everyone trading in that. Links in the description to all the necessary resources, and I will catch you in the next video. Have a lovely day. If you go to Bitcoin Miami, come say hi. Can't wait to meet you all. Peace out.